أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله الله أكبر. Mothers, human beings, and this message is for entire Mother Planet Earth populations of human beings. However, the article which I'm going to interpret, or the ayah of a verse, a holy verse of the Holy Quran, is to mothers and their responsibilities of a duty to integrity, the beauty of life, the beauty of the most holy religion, Islam, and the beauty of every article of health, integrity, as well as the beauty to life. Life is a religion, and that most holy, beautiful religion is Islam. However, in the interpretation of the ayahs of the decrees of honor and ayahs of the Holy Quran, interpretation of the scared ayahs of the Holy Quran, mothers, this is what determines and beautifies and gives you a guidance which is encrypted under a certain article of interpretation in the ayahs of the Holy Quran, in Surat Maryam, as well as in Surat Baqarah, as well as in Surat Kahf. Mothers of the human race and the United Nations Security Assembly, I do have to present my interpretations of the holy ayahs, or the scared interpretation ayahs of the Holy Quran, of the integrities, dignities, and the beauty, and the duty to life, both to human beings, to the environment, and all communities and societies of living communities of Muslims on Mother Planet Earth. Human beings, in this interpretation, I have to remind you that as mothers, you were honored by Allah. And that very, very honor, holy divine honor and task, that you were honored and dressed in an interpretation which interprets the beauty of the most holy religion of Islam to human beings. Only mothers can understand, only mothers know how or what life means to be a living human being, or to be a little baby, either in the womb of, when you are in the womb as a little baby in your mother's womb, your mother, most of the time, she knows nothing about you. That is seriously true. when you are as a little boy or a little girl in your mother's womb, your mother only she knows that her belly is kind of grow. Yeah? So that way, I would say that as mothers, you are honored by Allah, the most holy, glorified, Almighty Allah, as proof and evidence of the most holy, beautiful religion, that in your bodies, Allah created what we call a womb in which a creation of another living human beings can be created inside you. When those creations are being created, either twins, a boy, a girl, you do not know anything about that, and you may have no clue. Maybe sometimes after 1 month that you realize you're pregnant. But Allah, who created every living human being and all other living creatures, knows. Just the moment the egg or an embryo fertilizes, Allah knows straight away. So He commands the angels, and on the 30th day after you've conceived as whatever in your womb, Allah opens the door that many of you, women and especially women, that door has always been closed. None of you knew that door existed until I did explain it. But today, we are not going to go into that. I'm talking to the United Nations Assembly, Security Assembly, and the United Nations Council of Nations, or Nations, or United Nations, whatever security, whatever council or nations that are all under what you call United Nations, put on the articles of security to human life and the human life and dignity, that under no circumstances should a child under the age of 18 be allowed to travel either from America to Sydney or from Sydney to Europe. Why? In that loose interpretation which was there under the liability in the 11th centuries, that's when what you call a human trafficking gained its what? Its food. But I want to help human beings, and mothers especially, to help me understand the beauty of what life means to you. If you're to send a child under the age of 10, 8, 13, 14, 15 to another country without you accompanying that child, the chances or the likeliness that that child may face problems are very, very, very high. So with that, under the United Nations Security Protocol and whatever, let it be written again that a child should not under the age of 18, that is for girls, because a boy at the age of 17 can give you a punch in your face if you mess around. But any girl, child, under the age, when she's 18, she must not travel alone. She either travel with her mother, especially this message to mother, to reduce the bloodshed, the slavery to sex, what you call, some big countries have named, call it sex industries, but that's a territory which promotes all sorts of diseases. So to avoid these kind of diseases and whatever that has caused Mother Nature to ask questions time and time again to human beings, I do beg, and every mother and every woman who sits in the United Nations Assembly today, and every European nation and Chinese and Japanese and Americans and every nation, that do not allow the beautiful mothers, because every girl, child, every 18, 13, 14 girl under that age, they are your mothers, but in an image that you don't know. If they go in nations where they can be either end up in being put in a compromise or a dangerous situation, you wouldn't know, because you thought your daughter is old enough to travel alone, which when it hits you back that your daughter is missing or she had problems, it will be too late. So to avoid such scenarios in which Allah says interpretation is better than cure in every verse, every ayah of the Holy Quran, there is what we call a prescription which says prevention is better than cure. So to prevent future heartbreak, future bloodshed, future whatever diseases, it should be put on every article of every nation that a girl under the age of 18 should never travel alone, except when she's with her mother, and should never be married or sold off to what you call sex predators or whatever this tradition and culture and traditional practices, where a girl of 13 is sold off to a man of either 4 or 60, and she never have any happiness in her life. Because those are little girls who end up, if they become pregnant at that age, they may produce children, and the girl gets what we call fistula diseases, which are very delicate to cure. So that way, I do beg mothers, healthy mothers, mothers who have medical and medical application to interpretation of what health is. Help the United Nations understand this interpretation well. And you enforce it in order to prevent your children looking at ugly things in the future. Because in the Quran, Allah says that the reason why Allah brings children from their mother's womb on the day they are born, that they don't have to look at their mother's nakedness, is to prevent what you call very, very painful echoes of what Allah has interpreted in what, if I do interpret this ayah, is to assure you that as adults, mothers in your 30s, 40s, whatever, 20s, never allow your children to look at any of your naked body, or never allow your children to look at, for instance, if you're cooking and you cut your finger and it bleeds, never allow your children to look at that blood. It's forbidden for a child to look at that blood. The same way it's forbidden for a child to look at your menstrual or whatever blood. Because if he does, what they do, they are destroyed there and then. So that way, as mothers, to prevent your children spilling their blood while they're underage, because if a child loses a life or becomes molested or whatever, you as a mother, in one way or the other, you do not understand the interpretation in your body, but it causes many things inside your body, because she sat under your heart for 9 months. That way, I do beg every government in Europe, America, South America, Africa, Australia, my mothers in New Zealand, and the entire, my mothers in China, to put a law, to put it on as an article, a law that prevents girls under the age of 18, and when they're 18, they cannot travel alone. They should be 19 years and over to be able to travel, because that way they can be able to look at and work out where the danger is. They can walk a girl at the age of 20, a woman, because she has entered the woman stage, she can be able to look at where the danger is. So that way, if you use these articles to reduce bloodshed and human trafficking and all these practices that has been kind of accumulating in the loss of human life, innocent human life, maybe we can use that as a foundation stone to prevent death of little children, little mothers, little children, and future generations. I do beg you take this into what you call consideration, each and every nation and every government on this planet. Allahu Akbar, Akbar, Ahad, As-Salam, Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Ashahad, Allah ilaha illallah, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. Allahu Akbar, 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 ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. Allahu Akbar, ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. Allah